During his remarks at the National Prayer Breakfast, President Trump said that the soldiers in Washington, D.C., quote, beat the crap out of criminals. Man, if that's the way he talks at the prayer breakfast, I can't imagine what he said at the National Violence Breakfast.
That was a Democrat event, the National Violence Breakfast. Hey, how many assassins of the Democrat Party are due in court today? Michael, how many? Only one today? Well, we had two other Democrat would-be assassin and assassin in court earlier this week. So you know how they are. The National Violence Breakfast is at the DNC headquarters. Well, very good and happy Friday to you, and welcome back once again. We are at 888-630-9625. You see that in the Commonwealth of Virginia, used to be a very honorable state, a Muslim state senator has introduced a bill in Virginia defining Islamophobia as a hate crime. Islamophobia is a hate crime, but being a genocidal anti-Semite will get you promoted in the party. The Democrat Islamist Anti-Semite Party, firebombing, you know, the usual stuff. We got that. Also in Virginia, they've got a couple of Democrats who don't seem entirely American. They don't seem American at all, really. But currently in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state of Virginia, the split for congressional seats in the House of Representatives, 6-5. They have 11 House seats in Virginia, and 6 of them currently are occupied by Democrats, 5 of them occupied by Republicans. Practically, a pretty good even split. And what in the 2024 election, what was it, Michael, 45 to 50-something split on Election Day? And now the Democrats, they're in charge in the old capital of the Confederate States of America, the Democrat capital of the Confederate States of America, Richmond, Virginia. And now the third world banana boat Democrats, they say, well, we're going to redistrict. And now we're going to have 10 Democrat seats and 1 Republican seat because Ungala Bungala, because we're a third world state, because the left is in charge. And wherever the left goes, they bring the third world with them. So it's going to be Islamophobia is a hate crime if the Islamist Muslim state senator has his way with his legislation. And the Democrats are busy redistricting the entire state so that they've got a 10 seats in the House of Representatives advantage over the Republicans, who will have 1 seat in the entire state. And in Maryland, the Democrats have done the same thing. Long ago, they did this in Maryland, and they narrowed it down to 1 Republican seat, and now they're planning on gerrymandering that one out of existence because they're the third world. They call themselves the Democratic Party, but you know, and I know, the American people know, they are not. They are not the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party isn't, right? Common sense isn't. Friendly fire isn't. And most certainly the Democratic Party isn't democratic. They're very undemocratic. And here they go. So, Texas, and they condemn it, so they do it themselves over and over and over again in state after state. They've done it in California. They've done it in Maryland. They've done it all across the country. They do it all the time. And if you then say, hey, look what the Democrats are doing, we should do that, then they say, oh, yeah? Well, we're completely flippin' insane, so we're going to do it times 10 on LSD with guns. Oh, speaking of which, we've got another Democrat in court today, don't we? Another Democrat assassin in court today. Which one is it, Michael? It's Luigi Mangione. The Democrat Party hero, Luigi Mangione, he's back in court today. And I saw Luigi he assassinated the healthcare insurance CEO in New York City, murdering him, gunning him down on the sidewalk, and pre-dawn stalking him, and creepy boy Luigi Mangione. And, of course, he's the new sex hero of the Democrat Party. I remember when they put on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine, they put Joker Zarnaev, the Boston Marathon bomber, on the cover of Rolling Stone. Going to get my smiling face on the cover of the Rolling Stone, because the more you kill, the more the Democrat Party admires you and likes you. They're the left, and the left is the most murderous death cult in the history of humankind. And now the Democrat Party, they're part of the international left, like the Red Brigades and the European communists. The Democrat Party is here, and they're violent and they're criminally insane. But we've got Luigi Mangione back in court today, and that reminded me that earlier this week we had sentencing for the Democrat that tried to assassinate Donald Trump at the golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida, right? And and we had the Charlie Kirk assassin in court also. And the Democrat Party, they're part of all of this. It's center to everything. Also, I want to update you on the kidnapping, the big kidnapping in Arizona, and I went and did a little bit of poking around last night. I was reminded of Frank Sinatra Jr. being kidnapped, the son of Frank Sinatra Sr. Being kidnapped in 1963. And I did a little reading about that last night to remind myself of that famous kidnapping case. The Democrats kidnapped Patty Hearst. You remember the left kidnapped Patty Hearst and turned her into a left-wing gun-toting terrorist robbing banks and things. But she was a hostage, so it was the Democrats. And yesterday we talked about William Ayers, the communist terrorist who was involved in the murder of the multiple murders of law enforcement and the Brinks guards. They were robbing the Brinks people to fund the communist revolution. And then William Ayers found himself leading up the Annenberg Foundation in Chicago with Barack Hussein Obama, right? Mr. Saul Alinsky teacher himself. And we had that. But I learned something about the Frank Sinatra kidnapping last night that I didn't know anything about, and it was interesting enough where I said I should bring that in and share that tomorrow. Kind of fascinating stuff. But back to the kidnapping in Arizona, because it's a peculiar set of circumstances for a half a dozen reasons at least. But the missing Savannah Guthrie mother, Nancy Guthrie, and then we had that kind of tragic hostage video. We played the audio for you yesterday with Savannah Guthrie and her sister and her brother, but the brother-in-law was not in the video. And it turns out the brother-in-law is a bass player in kind of a heavy metal punk band or something. And the punk band, the band that he plays bass for is called Early Black. It's Early Black. He's a white guy. It's Early Black. And on their Facebook page, it says that they represent, among other things, love, murder. Love, murder. They have life, love, and then love, murder. And there he is playing his bass guitar for the band. And he has been perhaps conspicuously absent. He is allegedly the last family member and maybe the last person to see Nancy Guthrie alive, the 84-year-old mother of Savannah Guthrie. But that's an interesting development. And I think if I'm FBI, I'm kind of keeping an eye on him. I'm keeping an eye on him. And President Trump yesterday with Trump RX. Have you seen this? Trump RX slashing the prices of pharmaceutical drugs like no other president has. And the Democrats, they're angry about it because they're not happy. Unless they're not happy, they have to be angry in order to be in their normal state of mind. So we've got that. Yes, sir. Oh, and also speaking of assassins, because we got assassin Luigi Mangione, a hero Democrat, in court today. And we had the would-be assassin of Donald Trump in the golf course in Florida, in court earlier this week. And the Democrat assassin of Charlie Kirk in court earlier this week. And now we just learned, last night, we learned yesterday afternoon, authorities have arrested a Maryland man who is accused of stalking and trying to assassinate the director of the Office of Management and Budget. Now, you're really kind of getting into psycho weird land here, Democrat Party. You guys are all mentally ill. Trying to kill OMB Director Russ Vought. And he was stalking his house, and he was arrested, actually, weeks ago. And we just learned about it yesterday. Must be Democrats involved in the arrest. 26-year-old man has been arrested. He doesn't look very good for 26 either, does he? A lot of comments about that on Al Gore's amazing internet. Peace be upon him. 26-year-old man has been arrested for allegedly stalking and trying to kill Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought. Sure, absolutely. Colin DeMarco, that's his name, Colin DeMarco. Maybe Colin, it is C-O-L-I-N. Colin DeMarco of Maryland was arrested on January 22nd. We didn't hear about it until yesterday. Was booked in Arlington County by the sheriff's office there on charges of first-degree and second-degree murder. Right, sir, right? And shouldn't that be attempted? Because I don't think he killed him. Wearing a mask in public. That's kind of funny. They all wear masks, don't they? An awful lot of them do. And carrying a concealed weapon, according to court documents. So here is a 26-year-old Democrat from Maryland who was stalking the director of the Office of Management and Budget, not the highest profile person in any administration, but nevertheless, the Democrat wanted to assassinate him because Office of Management and Budget. According to the complaint, the arrest, he wrote a manifesto. Usually the transgender school killer Democrats write manifestos, don't they? Wrote a manifesto where he cited Project 2025, which the Democrats demonized and vilified. It was a working paper at the Heritage Foundation, and naturally you want to kill people because the Democrats have turned everybody into a mentally ill, violently, criminally insane, would-be assassin, violent criminals. And so the 26-year-old Democrat, he said that he wanted to kill Russ Vought because of Project 2025 and because of a looming fascist takeover. Hey, wait a minute. These are Democrat Party talking points. What a coincidence. What are the odds of that? Pretty remarkable stuff. Yes, sir. The Democratic Party in 2026 supports and encourages violent extremism. Christy L. Talmadge on her Twitter account. I think that's true. Colin DeMarco, 26, was going to assassinate OMB Director Russ Vought. Wow. And she writes, I disagree with the Republicans sometimes, but they're the only sane major party. If you still support Democrats, you are the problem, writes Christy L. Talmadge. And a very good point, because we've got another would-be assassin that the Democrat Party incited to extreme violence, and they're going to run him for Congress. I think the Democrats are going to run him all for Congress before long. Isn't that amazing? And our great friend Vince Colonnese also tweeting out, another weak and vicious-minded man attempted to assassinate a Trump official, this time Russ Vought. What is the deal with that? The suspect reportedly targeted him because he thought he was fighting fascism, and he hated Project 2025. That makes perfect sense. These are the Democrats, and the Democrats are the fascists here, make no mistake about it. And here's the guy, 26 years old. He could pass for 42. What do you think? He could pass for 42, maybe 43 years old. Not the Democrats. Being a Democrat is hard on you, you know. So there it is, just great. And, you may remember the man that was arrested outside of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's home with a gun, came in from across the country. That guy was Nicholas John Roski, 29 years old, sentenced to 8 years in prison and a lifetime of supervised release. Honestly, the Democrat Party, they're a violent criminal enterprise, and they've reestablished their headquarters in Richmond, Virginia, where when they were the Confederate States of America, when they were the South in the Civil War, that was their capital, and they're building it up again. They're going to bring back slavery. This time it is, I think, illegal aliens that going to be using as their playthings, their slaves. Aren't they something? Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib of the Squad faces terrorist ties allegations of terrorist ties in new report. Isn't that amazing? Democrats stealing the congressional map in Virginia because, oh yeah, you guys are fascists. Sure. Yeah. Your Democrat Party. Luigi Mangione in court today, would-be OMB director, assassin. We just learned of his arrest yesterday, though the arrest took place weeks ago. Rashida Tlaib is backing terrorists. The The billions stolen in Minnesota going to a terrorist group in Somalia because the Democrats are making everything better. They're making the United States unrecognizable. And a Muslim state senator in Virginia defining Islamophobia as a hate crime, an irrational fear of the people that crashed the plane into the Pentagon, loaded with passengers. You know, they use the words, but they don't know what they mean. 888-630-9625. Also, an Antifa radical covered in resistance tattoos on his chest and his face, arrested and charged with threats to ICE. Another Democrat arrested for plotting to murder the director of the Office of Management and Budget, no less, because the Democrat Party membership is a mental illness. Let's go to the phones, Michael. Let's go to line 4. Let's talk to William calling from Falls Church, Virginia. Wilhelm, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, my buddy.
What is up?
We shook hands at the Birchmere. I was at your pretty wife's cake cutting ceremony.
That's wonderful.
Are you going to be there May 17th?
I am going to be there on May 17th. Is that the date? I can't be relied upon to give you the correct date, but I think that's the correct date. Yes, May 17th. For the free speech forum at the Birchmere you're talking about.
Oh man, you need to do it twice a year instead of once a year. And we missed Mark Levin last time, but Sean Spicer was there and Sebastian Gorka was there before.
Yep.
And then after COVID, they stopped doing it for a year or two. But it was really a pleasure to meet you.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. You're very polite. And you're looking at is this right? The tickets go on sale, or they go on sale today? Is that right? That's
I think maybe yesterday.
Okay, yesterday.
Tell your audience. Everybody chime in. Man, it's the best venue in the world, man. I just love it.
Well, you're very kind, William, and it really is the we do it. We've been doing it once a year, the Free Speech Forum at the Birchmere, which is a great venue. Usually music, bands, and then once a year we've got us, the Free Speech Forum at the Birchmere, and tickets either went on sale yesterday. I think William's probably right, and Michael said today. You know. You know that the filmmaker and notorious child pervert Woody Allen. Woody Allen, he was. They had those earlier, funnier movies. Woody Allen's name appears in the Epstein files, as you might expect. Woody Allen, he had, I think he still has an ongoing sexual relationship with Mia Farrow's daughter, who was an underage teenage girl a la Jeffrey Epstein, when he started inappropriately, yada, yada, with the Mia Farrow daughter, right? And now there's a tweet making the rounds. Woody Allen, and having an affair with his stepdaughter, for years and years. I think they're as one now. I lost track of Woody Allen's sex life, thankfully, but Woody Allen is in the Epstein files, but I refuse to believe that he's the type of guy who would cheat on his daughter. Sorry, what? What's that? Refuse to believe he's the type of guy who would cheat on his daughter. That's pretty tough stuff. I wouldn't put that past him. I would expect him to cheat on his daughter, actually. Also, I was telling you yesterday about because Democrats, and they're, you look at that. Let's look at the preponderance of Democrats. Jeffrey Epstein, a Democrat Party donor, a very wealthy guy who spent all of his time with Democrats. And Donald Trump did kick him out of Mar-a-Lago once because he was being creepy with the waitresses or something like that. But there you have it. And So the Epstein thing is very Democrat heavy. And when they were saying, oh, yeah, we want all these released, they were lying. They just wanted to search for Trump's name, Control F, look for Trump, see how many times it comes up, and all that good stuff. But let me, here's a story. I was talking yesterday about the Washington Post announcing big layoffs at the Washington Post. And there are a couple of stories that have emerged about the Washington Post laying people off yesterday. And this one kind of tells you almost everything you need to know. The Phil Carpin on the Twitter, the Washington Post reportedly has laid off 14 of its 19 climate change reporters. Climate change reporters. They have 19. They had 19 climate change reporters. Well, I guess I'll feel compelled every day that they have to do something and type something up because climate change. And now what are they going to do that it's so cold? We're going to have another record cold weekend. And we got everything's frozen, all the snow pulling into the radio station here. If you crashed into the piles of ice outside the station, you'd have to call an ambulance because they got these giant piles of ice. And actually yesterday we had a very nice lady call in. Kat called in, driving a plow for the District of Columbia, and she just couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been more lovely. And it's not her fault. She's out driving a plow, getting stuff done. But the city of Washington does a very poor job of managing and handling all this, as is the case in Fairfax and in Arlington. And there are Democrats everywhere, and they ruin everything, except at the Washington Post, where they had 19 climate change reporters. I think they have 8 White House reporters during the Trump administration. They had 2, I think, during Biden, and they were there with hot oil to give massages every day. His white hair on his legs, in the pool. Yeah, but the Washington Post reportedly laid off 14 of its 19 climate change reporters. That's going to really put a dent in their climate change reporting, isn't it? I think it is.
This is for real. It is not made up.
This is not made up. It's definitely not made up. At the the great people at the Babylon Bee people are pretty funny people. They really are. They're always pretty darn funny every day. And the Babylon Bee wrote Seth Dillon, putting out, if your position at the Washington Post was recently eliminated, please consider applying to write for the Babylon Bee. We are seeking applicants experienced in writing fictional content presented in the tone and style of legitimate news organization. See, that's the Babylon Bee. Hey, Washington Post, we do what you guys do. We're looking for people that are experienced in writing fictional content, the Washington Post, presented in the tone and style of legitimate news organization. That's good stuff. The Babylon Bee, funny every day, and that's funny. Now, I put it out there, and it's true, you're a Washington Post person, maybe go get a job at the Babylon Bee. Babylon Bee, I think, has a bright future. The Washington Post, probably not. But you do get to hang out with Woody Allen and Jeffrey Epstein until he was hanged in a jail cell, but never mind that. Also a funny one from George M.F. Washington on Twitter, who says, if there are no borders and everyone is welcome to come here, like at the Grammys where nobody is illegal on stolen land, right? They've got that thing going for them. If there are no borders and everyone is welcome to come here, then why do we get so angry at Christopher Columbus every October? Well, that's a fair question. That's so in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and he was an Italian guy working for the Spanish crown, and he arrived here, and the Democrats are still furious about that. 500 years later, they're still furious. They've got a lot of issues, these people, a lot of serious issues. Yes, they do. But, it's true. Everybody's welcome. We have no borders. But somehow they're angry about Christopher Columbus coming here in the 15th century. Aren't they unusual? Yes, they are. And did you see the Democrats out there screaming the N-word at ICE agents in Minnesota? And not just one instance, but at least 2, and I think 3 different instances where the Democrats are out there, and there's a black ICE agent, and white liberal women screaming the N-word at the black federal agents who are armed. Apparently, they're not familiar with the name Renee Good. They should familiarize themselves with the name Renee Good. But the Democrats, I see where you're itching your trigger finger over there. Is that we've got a couple of sound bites want to play for you because the Democrats, and they're really just amazing. They are. You want to play? Let's go. Where are those sound bites, Michael? Number 11 and number 12. Soundbite number 11 and soundbite number 12. White, liberal Minnesota protester, rioter, racist, the usual, and their hero, Alex Preddy, who showed up with a gun and the Extra magazine to the riot because, he was looking at being a mass murderer like so many Democrats that become heroes of the Democrat Party. Instead, he got shot to death first, which is probably the best possible outcome. But he attacked and spat into the faces of Latino federal agents, right? And I shared with you their names and so on. They're Latinx, and spat in their faces. And now, and that's not racist because he was a Democrat before he was shot to death by federal law enforcement. And the Democrats are the party of everything racist in the history of the United States of America. They are racism incarnate. And here's a white liberal Democrat rioter calling the black ICE agent the N-word, and he is not amused, and he's cursing at her. We had to do a lot of bleeping here.
No! What are you doing?
That's her.
Move around! Move around!
She's got a whistle.
Move around! What's your name?
What's your name?
Oh, you some hoes! You some hoes! And you're black! What? You're next! You're next!
White,
I don't want
white liberals, you're next, N-word.
you! Show me, bitch! You serious? You!
There's a mob of them out there, the whistles, screaming the N-word, and cursing him out. And he didn't shoot her. I know that he thought about shooting her, but he didn't shoot her, at least not on the video that we have right there. And isn't that amazing? And we saw that emerged last night. White liberal women are maybe the most mentally ill category of Democrats in the United States. But that's and honestly, what happened to white liberal women? They used to just go out and drink and have random meaningless sex, spreading STDs and stuff. Now look what they're doing.
Show me, bitch!
Now she said this big strong man with guns is putting up with these Democrats. And there was, we saw that one, and I said, well, last week there was another incident with more liberals, and we used this one, I think, night before last on the Newsmax TV show on the Right Squad at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock on the West Coast. And here is another, it's white liberal mob attacking an ICE agent who's a black guy, and the black guy is being accosted by these liberals, one of whom is apparently a man dressed as a woman, trying to pass as a woman. And the agent, while he's trying to move these people out of the way because they're interfering with federal law enforcement, he asks the guy, he says, are you a man? And then they really get upset.
We should rip people apart from their families?
Are you a man?
Wow, is that a question?
Wow.
Yes, it is.
How do you feel about ripping people from their families? Does that feel good?
House here. Sir, I need to move. Look at house working for the KKK.
Well, sir,
Why are you calling a woman a man?
it's a man.
What kind of a guy does that?
What kind of a guy does that? Kind of a guy that recognizes that is a guy dressed like a lady, and he's got a little chin beard and the things like that. But we got to bleep it all out because black ICE agent in Minnesota, and these lunatics, including this tranny, this mentally ill tranny, is in the face of law enforcement, and the ICE agent says, who's a black guy, right? And he says he wants to know whether to say, and he asked, "Are you a man?" And then they, was that a question? Yeah, it was phrased as a question. It ended with a punctuation mark. There was a question mark. That was clearly and obviously a question. Any idiot recognizes that. But the Democrats, they're nuts. And then they start calling him the House N-word. He's the House N-word. And we've got to bleep that out because the Democrat Party, the party of Jefferson Davis and the party of Richmond, Virginia as their capital, the Democrat Party. House N-word, House N-word there. And and the guy's like, he said, "Are you a man?" And it was because he wanted to know whether to say, ma'am or sir, you should get out of the way because you're blocking a federal investigation. And he asked kind of politely, said, "Are you a man?" And they lose their minds, of course.
Are you a man?
Wow.
Wow, is that a question?
Yeah, that's you didn't recognize it? That's parts of speech for $10, Wink. You people are really something to write home about. You guys are. Yes, sir. All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael, on this beautiful American Friday. Let's go to Rachel, calling from Clark County, Virginia. Rachel, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hello, Chris. Always a pleasure to speak to you. How are you today?
I couldn't be better, having the time of my life in this crazy Democrat loony bin.
Well, I think the only way to beat them is to truly impose a statewide electoral college. If you think about it, our founding fathers set it up so that California and New York wouldn't control our presidential elections every year. Why wouldn't we apply the same concept statewide so that places like Arlington and Prince William County doesn't choose Abigail Spanberger and people like that every time?
Very interesting, a statewide electoral college concept, because the Democrats are making reference to the fact that Democrats in Virginia are planning on stealing congressional seats with guns like the criminals that they are. All right, not with guns just yet. But Virginia Democratic leaders announced a 10-to-1 congressional redistricting map. And the news media says a 10-to-1 redistricting congressional agreement. The agreement is only among Democrats. The Republicans didn't agree to it because right now the split is 6 Democrat seats to 5 Republican seats, rather. And now they say, well, we're going to redraw it, and we're going to we have some audio of these lunatics, don't we? These Democrats, and these people don't sound like they're from the United States of America. They're absolute lunatics. L. Louise Lucas on the redistricting of the entire state of Virginia for the Democrats to steal seats in the House of Representatives.
Today we are leveling the playing field. These are not ordinary times, and Virginia will not sit on the sidelines while it happens. We made a promise to level the playing field, and today we're keeping our promise. Our maps are ready. Virginia is ready. We said 10-1, and we meant it. And we are proud to deliver a map that stands up for democracy.
Yeah, it's the opposite of the truth. I got to say, Rachel, these people, and she is a state senator, Democrat, obviously. English is not her strong suit. Common sense, reason, rational thought, not her strong suits either. And you've got a very interesting idea that we take the states and say, well, you can't just do what they're doing now, right? And that's criminal theft of political power, isn't it? By third world banana republic Democrats who have no business in American or Western politics, for that matter, Rachel.
Absolute fascists. And again, everything they accuse us of is exactly what they're doing. Our best bet here in Virginia is to go out and vote and win in midterms to try to stop their agenda the best we can. But I still refuse to believe Abigail Spanberger won. I don't even know how that happened, or, the Jones guy. But I just think that the same thing would apply statewide, so that places like the big cities don't get to choose everything and make us people who live out in the country have absolutely no voice.
Well, which is their goal. Rachel, I love the thought. It's a wonderful thought. And the Democrat Party is the third world because the left brings third worldism with them wherever they go. And now the Democrat Party is the left, and they're the third world, and they're criminals. And right, and you mentioned Jay Jones, who became Attorney General in the election in Virginia after saying that if he had a gun with 2 bullets in it and he was in a room with Hitler and Pol Pot and the Republican Speaker of the State House, he would use both bullets, shooting the Republican in the head and he would let the Socialist Workers' Party, Adolf Hitler, live, and Pol Pot live, murderers of millions and millions of people. And he said he wanted to kill their children, too. And Luigi Mangione's back in court today.
It is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
The Justice Department announcing this morning the arrest of the ringleader of the Benghazi attack on the U.S. Embassy compound in Benghazi, Libya in 2012, where 4 Americans were murdered by radical Islamic jihadi terrorists. And you remember Barack Obama lied to us about it, said it was because of a video made by a guy in California. It was all a lie. Hillary Clinton said, at this point, what difference does it make? And I want to update you on that shortly because we're just learning about that now. Let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to, but I will update you on that. Another Benghazi arrest. The Democrats failed. It was their fault, the terrorists' fault, and the Democrats' fault for being idiots and not providing help. But let's go to Marty calling from the Ozarks. Not just a TV series anymore. Marty, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning. This is truly an honor.
Well, it's my honor. Welcome. Thank you very much.
This morning, like most Americans, I quickly checked my phone, and it said it was 39 degrees, and then it had the real field temperature. You know what that real field temperature was?
What was it?
It was 39 degrees.
Wow.
I thought I was in the twilight zone or something. That's not supposed to happen.
That is crazy science. How does that even happen? That's a failure of the Democrat Party, I think.
Undoubtedly. Okay. Speaking of weather, I bet Mr. Mamdani and a lot of locals are really praying about now.
They're praying for global warming right now, you say?
Yes, to help melt all their snow and ice, and they just laid off everybody from the local newspaper.
Well, and certainly the Washington. I think maybe they need more self-immolations for the Democrats in New York and in Washington to help melt the ice. If they really cared, then they would self-immolate.